Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prowess Live this week. We are talking about lead magnets and the top 3 things that we see online business managers make when creating or building those lead magnets. So we're excited about this conversation because it's an important one. Before we get started, you know how we like to drop a question into the chat. So share with us today. When you think about lead magnets, what's the thing that gets you to click? Like, be honest. When you're scrolling, there's always those things that catch your eye, right? So is it like the Cosmos style quiz? Those are your favorite things to do. Is it that white paper of just information? It's that answer to the question and I want it. Or is it the trick of the promise to the secret answer, right? It's hidden in there. So you will watch the video, download the thing, take the quiz if you get the secret answer. What makes you click that button? And as you're thinking about that, I just want to introduce ourselves. I'm Leah with Prowess Project, sitting in for Ashley today. And like I said, we're talking about lead magnets and the top 3 things OBMs make. Who we are and why we're talking about this at Prowess Project, we help train people that want to become online business managers. So taking their amazing skills of operations, tech savviness, and matching them up with CEOs that also need that talent to help grow and scale their business. So I've been with Prowess here and I help on the training side. And so we do talk a lot about lead magnets and how to build your business. And so this is a very important part of that. And I'm joined today by Natalie Schmerdla here that helps out with OBMU. And we're going to be talking all about this topic. So as we're getting started and you're thinking about those reasons that you click, and I love these answers that you're a sucker for that quiz. I get that one. I always like to see creatively what's out there. So we're going to be breaking down how to make sure people click that button. So welcome, Natalie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Leah. Happy to be here. Yeah, I was definitely the Cosmo quiz girl back in the day. So I think that's just stuck to the digital world now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and then we'll get into this, but talking about that good UI, it even makes it more fun to take that quiz, right?
Absolutely.
But as we're thinking about these lead magnets, right? You guys all have these amazing skills to offer. And the goal is to get your information out there in front of that CEO who might need the skills that you've built your business around. You could also be someone who's helping someone build their lead magnets. So today we're going to talk through 3 main areas where we see people make mistakes when it comes to that lead magnet. And really what you're trying to do is make sure that you capture that email address, right? Like that's the end goal, is to have building up that email list so that you can then send out that newsletter, send out that information, follow up with people who are engaging with your content. We talk a lot about wanting to serve or work for the right people that match our interests. So if we're elevating people in the world by providing back-end support, we want to make sure we know exactly who we can talk to. And so having a lead magnet that is designed around how that ideal customer is thinking and feeling is key. And so that's why it's so important to have something that resonates with that ideal customer. So we want to start off by thinking, are they people that like information? If you have a very technical group that you're working with, they might like the white paper. If you have a very creative group, they might like the quiz. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. We're going to talk about some of the things where it could go off the rails and they're not going to click that button. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on, and Natalie, I don't know about you, but I'm 100% guilty of this one, is that we make it too complicated.
A million percent.
So I know that when I start to think about a lead magnet and I get out my pen and paper and my buddy ChatGPT, which is like almost dangerous at this point, right? Because we can put it in there. We can have the ideal prompt and put in, I want a lead magnet for this idea, and all of these ideas start coming back. Or I'm writing down all of these things that I've downloaded and I really like them. And now I have this huge list of all these things that I want to cram into this one asset that I want to deliver to the customer. And this is the biggest mistake I see people make, is that we spend too much time, we overcomplicate the process, when really the goal is to deliver one answer, get them to click one button for one answer, right? And get that one email address.
And we want to keep it simple for us to maintain and manage, but we also want to keep it simple, like you said, for that user experience. If the user is clicking the button 4 times to get the results that they wanted, they're going to stop clicking and they're going to get away from it. I think that an example of this is, so when I first started my business, I wanted to provide a way for people to just, prioritize tasks. And to me, it was really simple. You create this download, you have, a list of things that you want to do, and then you highlight the ones that are in one category, one color, another category, another color. And it just got too complicated. And so it was like I had like a 10-page download by the time I was done. So I simplified it. It was basically steps to do your, prioritization process. And I downloaded it or simplified it, downsized it to being just 1 page with all of the steps in the process, because not everybody thinks like I do in columns or rows or spreadsheet format. So I found that was a lot easier. And I felt like that was going to get more follows, and it absolutely did. So that was one way of simplifying it for the user, but also simplifying it for myself.
And Natalie, you bring up an interesting point in that getting excited and all the different ways that we can do it. How many times have you been working with a client, right? Because that's a two-sided sword that we deal with in doing these live shows, is that we think about it from our perspective, what we want in our business, but our mind goes to, how do I serve and help my client? And a lot of times our client will say, hey, we need a lead magnet, or we got to change the lead magnet. I now want to talk about this. Do you ever run into the issue of too many ideas coming in your head for your client?
Oh, 1,000,000%. Your clients are going to want 10 different downloads, and they want to have all the information out there. And what is the phrase that we always use? Confused buyers don't buy. So a confused process or too many assets out there are going to confuse that client's buyer also. So I think that you talk with your clients in those ways, and you talk about a way to streamline it. Maybe you plan it out. Maybe it's a different asset, throughout the year. It doesn't all have to be out there and available to them at once. But you also want to show them that they're probably giving away a ton of value for free. And so they are not seeing their worth in that moment as well, if they have too many assets or too complicated of an asset that they're putting out there.
Great point. Because that is a danger, is as we're overcomplicating, we're also providing too much. So we always think about here at Prowess is, what is that one problem that we're helping them solve, and giving them one quick win. That all of that they're getting with that one click, right? So ways and that I've seen that work really well is the checklist, right? Yeah. So you're just giving them a checklist to think about how to solve this problem. So in the OBM world, this could look like, ways to clean up your email inbox, and come up with 5 ways, right, that they could do that. What you're demonstrating there is that you can help them solve a problem. Now you have their email. Now you get to follow up, and all those other things, or the other ways they could do it, or what personality style is what we can build over time in future newsletters and future outreach. And
absolutely.
So Nellie, I've heard you say here in trainings and that sort of stuff is, what can they consume in under 10 minutes, right? That's a good way to look at it. Is because you want it to be that they get it and it feels like that quick win right away.
Yeah, if it takes somebody more than 10 minutes, they're going to get bored. They're not going to follow up, and they're not going to read it. I can't tell you how I have a special email just for these things, because I do so many of them. And if I don't get the response back, I put it in my spam folder and I move on with my life. So you don't want that experience for your prospects or your leads. So you want to make sure that they are going to get the information that you told them you were going to give them, just enough, not too much, and then also keep them coming back for more. So that's one of the things that you want to really think about, is if you give them everything in that first spot, they're not going to come back for more. So that's another way to think about keeping it simple.
Yes. And so Other things that I like to think about is in that user experience, right? So if they downloaded it, what does it look like on their phone? Is that very, again, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. If it's a list, they can see it, and the button to click to contact you is right there and it's obvious. If it is a one pager, same thing. Does it all fit on one page? And is
Right.
your information for the call to action really clear and on that all in one spot? If you're going to a web page, make sure things are above the fold so it's easy to digest right off the bat. And so that, again, that person, they're not going to move on because they can't find it or get to the bottom of it. I don't know how many times, I know it's a thing to put it into a video and get them to watch the end of the video, but make sure on that screen they know why they're watching the video. Because the other thing is, how many times do people click to download and want to watch it later, and then they forget, why is this even in my inbox? So keep it very clear. Do not overcomplicate it, and answer the biggest question you think that they have.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on to number 2. And if you guys have questions as we're going through these, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll get to those. So the second mistake that we often see OBMs make is, and this can go into the overcomplicating it, but all of a sudden we're solving a problem that people aren't actually Googling. And a way to think about this right now is with our friends, all the LLMs out there, or the questions people are putting into AI, making sure it is a question that's simple enough that you know your ideal customer is actually looking for. Yeah. And I love all the amazing information that's in my brain, but sometimes it's too deep for the actual question that the person would have started to Google, right? So we sometimes have to go back and say, okay, let me put myself in their shoes. And how would they be asking this question?
Yeah. And this is really where, especially if you are really specific in your niche or your offer, where you might get a little too detailed or a little too nuanced with what you're actually providing in that lead magnet, Leah. I think that a lot of times, if I think about like the health and wellness industry right now, everybody's got, the wall Pilates quizzes that you can take, or the, 30-day workouts, the floor workouts, or the seated workouts, or what have you. Nobody's, providing here is a very specific diet plan for a very specific body type, for a very specific, that is a scenario where you probably have gone a little too far. Everybody wants something to get them started. And so think about what that main question is that people are in your niche, in your industry, are going to be Googling. And then that's what you really want to build that lead magnet around.
Yes. And I think a good example of this, again, is around AI. And I promise I do think about other things besides AI, but it's usually the top of my brain. But right now, I think our potential customers as OBMs, operators, whatever you're calling yourself, is our customers thinking, I need to be using AI. What am I supposed to be doing? And I'm very guilty of this. People will ask me the question and I'll start being like, well, do you know anything about prompt engineering? And when you build a prompt, you should probably have these things in here. And here's exactly what a knowledge base is. And, oh, you're on Microsoft. Are you using, how are you building you're using the Power BI? All right. We'll go deep really fast because we're excited about it. And instead, like just pulling back, if you, again, lead magnet, you want them to click to capture their email, it could be 5 things to think about when planning for your AI strategy. It could be top 3 tools that are already at your fingertips to implement an AI, right? How many people actually know all the features in their Google email or their Gmail that are AI related that can help them? So it can be super simple. I think we go to a more complicated matrix to give back that information because we're passionate about it.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that can definitely trip you up when you are building your lead magnets is all of that jargon, right? All of that terminology that, again, like you were talking at the beginning, the CEOs don't necessarily have all of that background and understanding, that the clients that you're talking to don't have that background and understanding. So if you're throwing out things like large language models and knowledge base and things like, they're probably not going to have a clear understanding of what that looks like, nor do they want to be the ones to build it. So to your point, having 5 things that you can consider on your AI strategy, oh, that's going to resonate because they know that they need to have a AI strategy to stay relevant. Where do they get started? That's a way for them to get started. Again, then you come in, you get their contact information, you show them, here are the things that I could do for you. They want to partner with you, and that's how you get clients.
Yes, yes. Is there anything that you like to do in like check and balance for yourself when it comes to, have I gotten too heavy with this lead magnet?
The best thing that you can do is find somebody that knows nothing about what you do and ask them to look at it. So
Yes.
in this case, I have, my executive director, who those of you that know me, that's my mother. And I will just run it by her. She does not come from this world. She does not come from this understanding. She has worked in small business. She does, have a decent sense of, technology and process and all of that sort of thing. But if I run something by her and she's like, I don't get it, then I know I've overcomplicated it. So just find a trusted advisor, somebody who is not necessarily really well versed in your space, who can ask I don't get what that means, or what does this acronym stand for? That's another thing we get lost a lot in as we get into our world. So we use a lot of acronyms or jargon that people outside of our space really don't understand.
Right. And that might be a great place to start, is because create the list of the acronyms, create the list of your industry jargon that would help that person who is serving that audience, help them, understand. And Blenda threw in a great point about Answer the Public. That is a website that you can go to where it is pulling in the information of what people are putting into search engines. Google auto suggest is another thing. As you start to type in something, see what comes up. And you can even use ChatGPT to reverse engineer this, where if you say, I want to talk about AI, what might be 3 questions someone who doesn't know anything about it but knows they need a strategy might ask, right? And then start with those things. Start with the beginner questions and make it simple so that you are then making it easy for them to continue working with you, because the worst thing we can do is having them drinking from a fire hose and feeling overwhelmed from the start.
Yeah.
So we've talked about keeping it, not overcomplicating it, and making sure that the question that we're answering is something people are actually Googling. The third one that is really important, and I think there's lots of layers to this, is that we don't want to drop the ball on the opt-in. So once someone has said, yes, this information, that looks like it's really going to help solve it, that is the question that's been on my brain. They put that email address in and they hit submit. The next steps are really important to make this lead magnet actually valuable in your business. Because the worst thing that can happen is you don't capture the email, or you don't acknowledge it and they think it went into a black hole. Especially for the seat that we sit in operations, is to help showcase that we really can help with all of these things. That's their biggest fear, right? Is things are going to fall through the cracks. How many times do we hear that? That's why they're talking to an operations person. So any suggestions that you have there to make sure, whether it's the workflow, the automated email, whatever it is that happens next?
So a couple of things here. One, you got to build it, right? So you have to have that nurture sequence afterwards. So think about it being 3 to 5 emails as a starting point. We talk a lot in OBM University about, kind of the cadence that makes sense there, but you want this to essentially, like you were saying, showcase what you can build for them. So somebody opts into your lead magnet, you gather their contact information. Maybe you respond not just with the asset that they're downloading or the white paper or whatever it is. But then you are also sending a thank you note. Hey, thanks for following along. this is what I do. This is who I am. We'd love to chat if we can help you in your business. Wait a day or two, and then follow up with some more emails. Again, as you're building that email sequence, don't make them so complicated that people don't read them, but also don't bombard with emails, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody unsubscribe because there's too much coming to them too frequently. So you really find a good cadence for your communications. And again, your whole intention there is to add just enough value or give them just enough of a taste of how you can help them in their problem that they just Googled that your lead magnet answers, so that they are going to engage with you, schedule a time to chat, and hopefully become your client.
Yes. And what also is popping into my head is going back to that don't overcomplicate it. The simple schema of how you've built that out is an example of a simple lead magnet, right? When someone's like, I don't know what a workflow would even look like, you've helped them visualize that. It all goes back to who's your ideal client that you're talking to. But I think it is really important. I know a lot of people have heard me say that your lead magnet experience is an example of your work. So if you have someone who that's one of the ways that they get leads, they're looking for someone who knows how to build those funnels and those automations. So that is an example that they get a prompt response. Those emails are clear and tells them what to expect and how you guys can continue that relationship. Maybe it has the links to social media and giving them clear calls to action of what to do next. You want to also make sure that it's matching that personality style that you want to reach. If you're working with a lot of creative people, a video might be a great option. If it's people that are more data-driven, then some statistics, right? But keep it simple and make sure that it does show up in their inbox, because if they feel like that just went into the void, that's the danger when you're in operations and wanting your lead magnet to be really valuable.
Absolutely. And there's a couple of other things that I would just call out in this space too, Leah. So one, if you've ever taken how to use, effective communication and visuals, right? When you go through any PowerPoint 101 or creating a slide deck 101 course, 3 to 5 bullets max, right? So you want to make sure those emails aren't novels, because nobody's going to read through it. Nobody's going to follow up. Nobody's going to get to the call to action. So kind of like you were saying, above the fold, if they have to scroll on their phones, because everybody's on their phones these days, if they have to scroll, they're not going to get to the bottom. So make sure that you're keeping that in mind, which leads me to my second point is make sure all of this is mobile friendly. Because the worst thing that you want to do is have them sign up on a mobile device and then they can't respond or get a hold of you via mobile email. So again, as you're thinking about the body of those emails, just make sure that you're keeping it simple and again, not overbearing, because how many of us have, signed up for 400 newsletters and we don't read a third of them. So you don't want to be one of those, because you want clients.
Yes. But on the other side of that is you do need to send out that newsletter or whatever it is, whether it's quarterly, whether it's whatever cadence you want that matches your audience. Do send out the newsletter. Do send out those other emails, because them clicking on that button to submit their email says they want to see you back in their inbox, right? We feel like we're bothering people, right? Like we spend all this time creating this lead magnet. It's full of value. We know it's going to serve them. And then we're afraid to then continue the process sometimes, right? That's me. Maybe that's not everyone. But I'm always like, oh gosh, now if I'm doing a newsletter, is it too much? Or do they actually want to hear from me again? The answer is yes. They gave you their email. So you now have permission to show back up in that inbox at whatever cadence works for you. But do be consistent, because it's, how it is. It's 2:00 in the morning and they're thinking, I need help with this, or I need to bring someone to set up this technology for me. They might not get back to it for 2-3 months. But if you've been showing up consistently and delivering value, that's when they know who to reach out to.
Yeah. And another thought that I just had on that front, Leah, is that Those emails often also will kind of be a reflection of the work that you can do for them, right? So you want to show them that, hey, I am going to stay consistent. I have a repeatable pattern. My workflow runs consistently on the third Thursday of every month, right? My newsletters are simple and digestible. They aren't, they contain value, but they're not over inundated with too much information. So I think that is a really good point too, that again, that person that's coming to you, that person that's up at 2 a.m. in the morning googling, Instagram scrolling, finds your lead magnet, they are looking to solve a problem that they are having. You are going to demonstrate how you are going to solve that for them because you're doing it in your own business.
Yes, yes. And I encourage people to have fun with this too, because when I can sit back and think, what do I want to do to help somebody creatively? What do I want to be putting out there, and have some fun with that lead magnet? Again, I have to remind myself that it does not need to be perfect. Like I could spend hours in Canva making the design. Black and white and no images is fine too, right? We can use just simple icons, and keeping it just, again, not overthinking it, not waiting till it's perfect, but having something that we feel good about and we're proud of that value that we're putting out there. That's the kind of lead magnet that we want to have.
Absolutely. I think that, again, your intention is to capture that viewer, for lack of a better way of saying it. Your intention is to get that person, to bring them in, plant the seeds of value that you're adding to them, and then they can, come back to you because you are consistently there. You're continually providing value and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the most creative or not even creative, because I don't want it to sound like it has to be this big fancy thing, but what are some of the things that you've seen like that works, that gets someone to take the next step?
Yeah. So quizzes, checklists, like we kind of started out at the top. I think that, and I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this, but a quiz or a checklist that answers the question, do I have a problem in my business? Or I do, helps that person realize, oh my gosh, I have a problem in my business. Because sometimes people are like, something's not right, but I don't know what it is. And so they're trying to figure that out. I think, again, actual useful information. And there's no fancy way to say it, but something that somebody could take action from just by way of downloading your asset. So if you have, I liked the email cleanup one as an example. If you can actually take that download and go do something that's going to make your life, your business, your situation easier, it's going to resonate more. And then they're going to come back for the next one. And then they're going to come back and ask you for help because they don't have time to do the things that you told them to go do. I would say the third thing is, when you think about your emails or the assets that you're downloading, if they kind of build on each other. So maybe your actual lead magnet is like a level 1 of how to clean up your inbox. And then maybe your subsequent nurture emails are a new, simplification tip every month or every week or however frequently you're doing it. Those are also helpful because, again, when you're adding the value without giving them away too much, it helps them realize, oh, I really need to do this thing, but I don't have the time. So I want to pay somebody to do it for me. That's going to get somebody to come back. That's going to get somebody to engage with you, schedule time, and really, realize that, hey, I'm just going to let this person handle this for me because they're an expert. They do it well. And it's going to save me time and money in the end.
Oh, great point. And this is going to be true confessions here, but it's like what you were making me think about is the times where I wasn't keeping all that in perspective and I created a lead magnet that did not build upon the journey of working with me. So I got really excited. Maybe I created this quiz and it was a really cool interface and, they could click these things and then it spit something out, and the answer landed in their inbox. But that didn't actually correlate with my free discovery call. You know what I mean? Like the reason why I'm saying get on the phone with me, and then what my offers are. So you want to make sure that it all aligns and that it does build upon each other, the story that you're trying to tell. And again, I encourage people to be as simple as we think it's more complicated than it is, because we do amazing and complicated things. But that beginning could just be, again, if you're going to help someone with, let's say it is workflows, they need automation, they need a CRM. That's who you're trying to attract, is that person who's like, hey, help me migrate my CRM and set up all these workflows. It could be something as simple as 3 features people didn't know in the workflow process, or definitions in the workflow process. Mm-hmm. So then that invites them, then they say, hey, that person looks like an expert. And then my next offer is, we're going to audit your current one and tell you where the problems are, right? So it all makes sense. And that in their mind, it's very streamlined. You are the expert to answer that question.
Absolutely. I think one other thought that came to my mind while you were saying that, Leah, is that lead magnet should almost give them to a yes or no question, or a yes or no answer. So if I think about like a quiz or a checklist, again, going back to the email cleanup as an example, are there more than 10,000 emails in your inbox? Yes or no? Are there, more than 5,000 emails in your spam? Yes or no? Do you avoid email because you have too many of them? Yes or no? And then add it up. And at the end, if they're all yeses, then you simply just say, sounds like it's time for an email cleanup. And you direct them to your email cleanup service, strategy, course, discovery call, whatever it is that you're going to direct them to. But it's a very simple funnel as well for you to direct people. And again, it doesn't have to be super complicated. I think I told you I really was working on a particular lead magnet for my own business. And I spent way too much time trying to make it a fancy quiz that was going to pop out the answer. And I know I came to you and I was like, why don't I just make this a checklist? And you're like, yep. And that made it so much easier so that people could just get what they needed and then decide, yes, this is something I need, and then come leverage me to help them with that.
Yep. And I could only tell you yes, Natalie, because I've done it myself with those like WIS forms. Like I got like type forms. I got real deep into that for a while, and I was like, I can create all of these things and I can add scores. And at the end, all the person really, like my ideal client, it was like, am I someone who's going to benefit from bringing on help, or can I do this myself? Right. Yes. And that alone of like top 3 things that you should be outsourcing, or just giving them that clarity.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of times people just want to be invited into that conversation, right? Mm-hmm. They're stressed about these things. This is your area. You're passionate about talking about AI in your email. Great. Let's connect. So yeah, I've hours, days I've probably lost setting up quizzes and scoring and all of that sort of stuff.
I do too think that talks to people like you and I who are doing this work. So if you are someone who is going to be supporting people in this kind of space or doing this kind of work, maybe you're wanting to support a VA agency or wanting to support somebody that does email marketing, a lot of email marketing. Maybe they do email marketing for other clients. Then maybe that is the right thing for you. But again, most of the time, the clients that are coming to people like us that we're delivering services to are like, I have a problem. I don't know what I need. I just need somebody to fix it. So that's where we go back to the 3 tips. Keep it complicated. Keep it simple, and making sure that we are not over engineering it, making sure that we are answering the problems that they are coming to us, and then following up with that nurture. Those are really the 3 things that they want us to do.
Yeah. And so to wrap this up, I think I'm going to add a bonus one. And that's the mistake that we see a lot of OBMs make is they never launch the lead magnet.
Mm.
So whatever idea that you have of this might serve it, set it up and get it out there, because you need to start testing it. And a lot of times we'll stop, or we'll be like, only a couple people clicked on it. That's okay, right? We're not trying to get 1,000 clients every week, right? We need a couple that resonate with us. So get the lead magnet out there, get it off of your Canva files, put it into the way that you can capture someone's email, and then follow up with them. That's how you're going to start connecting with people. That's how you're going to start learning. Your lead magnet will evolve over time, but the worst thing you can do is not have one, not be reaching out to your audience, not putting your offer out there. So I will stop there on my preaching.
No, put it out there is, one of our mantras. So I agree. Nobody's going to find it if you don't put it out there.
Yep. All right. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. Next week we have a replay, and then we will be back after that. So enjoy your holidays, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks all.